Good morning, dear members. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the 62nd Annual General Meeting of Whirlpool of India Limited, being held through video conferencing in compliance with the requisite circulars issued by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs and SEBI. Requisite quorum being present, I request our Chairman, Mr. Arvind Uppal, to please call the meeting to order. I would now hand over the proceedings to Mr. Uppal.
Thank you, Rupali. Good morning, dear shareholders. I warmly welcome you all to the 62nd Annual General Meeting of the company. I thank all of you for taking time to be with us today. As the requisite quorum is present, I call the meeting to order. I will now call upon my colleagues on the board to introduce themselves. Let me start with the executive directors, Mr. Narasimhan Ishwar.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning and welcome, shareholders. I'm Narasimhan Ishwar, Managing Director of the company and Chairman of the Risk Management Committee. I'm joining the annual general meeting from the corporate office of the company at Gurugram.
Thank you. Mr. Reddy.
Good morning, shareholders. I am Narayan Reddy, Executive Director of the company, joining the AGM from the corporate office of the company at Gurugram.
Thank you, Reddy. Mr. Anil Barera.
Good morning, everyone. I am Anil Barera, Non-Executive Director of the company, and I'm attending the AGM from Gurugram.
Thanks, Anil. Mr. Pradeep Banerjee.
Hi. Good morning, shareholders. I am Pradeep Banerjee, Independent Director and the Chairman of the Nomination and Remuneration Committee. And I'm joining this meeting through video conferencing from my residence in Mumbai. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Pradeep. Mr. Rahul Bhatnagar.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Rahul Bhatnagar, Independent Director, and I chair the Audit Committee of the company, and I'm attending this AGM from my residence in Noida.
Thanks, Rahul. Ms. Sonu Bhasin.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everyone. I am Sonu Bhasin, Independent Director, joining this meeting from my home in Delhi. Thank you.
Thank you all directors. Apart from directors, we also have with us Mr. Aditya Jain, Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Rupali Singh, Company Secretary, Mr. Sanjay Vij, Partner of SR Bartley Boy & Co., representing the Statutory Auditor, and Mr. N.C. Khanna, the Secretarial Auditors of the company. I now call upon Rupali to brief the shareholders on the meeting formalities.
Thank you, Arvind. I would like to take the members through some of the key points with respect to participation at this meeting. The facility for participating at this meeting has been made available on first-come basis. The live webcast of the proceedings are also available on the website of NSDL. The instructions for joining the meeting and for voting during the meeting have been mentioned in the notice and are also displayed on the website of the company. Once the question and answer session starts, the name of the registered speaker shareholders will be called out. Thereafter, the speaker shareholder will be unmuted by the moderator. The speaker shareholders are requested to also unmute their own devices and switch on their camera before asking the questions. In case any of the speaker shareholder is unable to switch on the video, then they may ask the question only through audio mode as well. While asking your questions, to minimize background noise, please use earphones. Further, for uninterrupted internet experience, we request that background applications are closed on your device and that the Wi-Fi connection is solely used by the device that is being used for the purposes of this meeting. In the interest of time, we request the speaker shareholders to kindly restrict their questions to a maximum of 2 minutes. In case we encounter any connectivity issues at the shareholder's end, we will move to the next speaker shareholder and the moderator will attempt to reconnect with the said shareholder once all speaker shareholders have asked their questions. In case during the meeting you face any technical difficulties, then please reach out to the help desk numbers which have been mentioned in the notice of this meeting. We will also answer the question of the shareholders who have sent us the questions through emails. Since the meeting is held through video conferencing, the facility of appointing proxies has been dispensed of with. Further, in compliance with provisions of Companies Act, the company had provided remote e-voting facility through NSDL, and the voting lines were open from 9 a.m. on 23rd of August till 5 p.m. on 27th of August 2023. Further, pursuant to the MCA circulars, your company has also provided the facility of e-voting during this meeting itself. Members who have already cast their vote through remote e-voting shall not be eligible to recast their votes at this AGM. Messrs. Akash Gupta and Associates, practicing company secretary, have been appointed as a scrutinizer for monitoring the e-voting process. I would now call upon our chairman, Mr. Arvind Uppal, to please address the members.
Thank you, Rupali. Dear shareholders, once again, a very warm welcome to all of you. Let me start by saying on behalf of the board, I would start by thanking Mr. Vishal Bhola, the erstwhile Managing Director, for his contributions at Whirlpool India. Under his leadership, your company entered into premium product segments, saw higher levels of customer satisfaction scores, and an engaged and diverse organization. I would also like to take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Narasimhan Ishwar, who joined Whirlpool in March 2023 and took over the reins from Vishal. He was appointed as Managing Director with effect from 4th April 2023. I am excited for the expertise and leadership that Nachi, as we like to call him, has brought to Whirlpool India. He has a proven and effective track record of leading organizations through dynamic market conditions and positioning them for success. The board is confident that under Mr. Ishwar's leadership, Whirlpool India will scale greater heights. Though Mr. Ishwar will address you all by sharing a detailed update on the performance of the company, I will briefly touch upon some of the key highlights of the company for the financial year 22-23. Last year was a roller coaster year for the industry as well as for the company, as the industry witnessed accelerated inflation and cost, significant energy and regulatory changes, and interest rate hikes also weighed heavily on consumer sentiment. These factors led to weakened demand sequentially across the quarters, even as costs rose. Your company also faced intense competition due to an increase in new entrants trying to scale up fast, often driven by low pricing offers or disproportionately high sales investments. Amidst all the challenges during the financial year 2023, your company achieved consolidated total income of INR 6,795 crores, which was up by 8.5% versus previous year, and delivered a profit after tax of INR 224 crores. As we all know, the global environment has been challenging due to volatile macroeconomic conditions and geopolitical reasons. Amidst the challenging environment, your company continued its focus on significantly improving its portfolio across channels, and we are confident that momentum will be back in the business. Despite a challenging year on the profitability front, we have strived to keep the shape of our P&L in order and set the stage for future growth. We have proactively put in place a comprehensive program of cost savings and margin improvement across all lines of the P&L. Your company has increased its focus on premiumization through product interventions and marketing and sales strategies that we believe will help improve our profit margins in the medium term. Over the past few years, your company strategically built its portfolio in the premium segment across refrigerators, air conditioners, and washing machines. Your company took a big step towards leadership in the laundry category by entering into the premium front-load washing machines category by launching the Expert Care range that features the breakthrough ozone air refresh technology. This all-new front-load range is manufactured in the new state-of-the-art washing machine facility in Puducherry. Within the industry portfolio, the demand for premium products continued to grow relatively stronger, whereas the demand for mass products was more muted due to inflationary pressures and a relative lack of disposable income amongst the semi-urban and rural populations. Today, Whirlpool has one of the widest product portfolios across varying price segments from mass to super premium and is well positioned to tap into recovering consumer demand across the next few years. Further, your company's investment in Elica's India business continues to be a success story, and it gives me immense pleasure in informing you that the sales and profits of Elica India grew by a healthy double digits. Lastly, I would like to emphasize that Whirlpool, we are fiercely committed to our vision to be the best kitchen and laundry company in constant pursuit of improving life at home. In line with this vision, our ESG strategy is an integral part of our long-term strategic imperatives and operating priorities. Over our history, we have continued to develop products that are good for our consumers and for the planet, to invest in resources that help care for our employees and our communities, and to hold ourselves accountable with robust policies, procedures, and systems. The longevity of your company certainly gives testimony to the sustainability of our business model and to the loyalty, perseverance. With these words, I'd like to also thank you all our stakeholders, suppliers, employees, and our service partners. I look forward to your cooperation and support in future as well. With that, I now hand over to Ms. Rupali Singh to explain the process of e-voting and take this forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chairman. The notice of the meeting and the integrated annual report containing the audited financial statements for the financial year ended 31st March 2023 and the board and auditors report thereon was sent electronically to all the members whose email addresses were registered with the company or the depositories. An errata dated 23rd August 2023 was issued and the same has also been sent to the shareholders electronically. The registers as mandated by Companies Act and the specified documents relating to resolutions set forth in this notice of this meeting are available for inspection. The necessary formalities pursuant to requirements of circulars issued by Ministry of Corporate Affairs as well as Securities and Exchange Board of India with respect to hosting of this meeting have been complied with. With your consent, we take the notice of the AGM as received and read. With respect to financial year ended 31st March 2023, the statutory auditors as well as the secretarial auditors have expressed unqualified opinion in their respective reports. There were no qualifications, observations, adverse remark on the financial statements and the matters which may have material bearing on the company. For the e-voting instructions, please refer to the notice of this meeting. The e-voting facility is open during the course of the meeting and shall continue to remain available for 30 minutes after close of the meeting. As directed by the chair, we now take upon resolutions set forth in the notice. The notice basically includes 4 agenda items which the board deems necessary to put forth at this meeting. Item number 1 to 3 are ordinary business and item number 4 is special business. Agenda item number 1 is for adoption of financial statements, including consolidated financial statement and the board and the auditors report thereon. Agenda item number 2 is for approving dividend of INR 5 per share on equity shares. Agenda item number 3 relates to reappointment of Mr. Anil Barera, who retires by rotation and being eligible seeks reappointment. Agenda item number 4 is for approving remuneration of cost auditors. The text of the resolutions and explanatory statement are set out in detail in the notice. With that, I would now like to request our Managing Director, Mr. Narasimhan Iswar, to please present a business update. Over to you, Mr. Iswar.
Thank you, Rupali. Dear shareholders, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much for welcoming me into the Whirlpool family. I joined the company on the 1st of March 2023. So it's been about 6 months that I've been here. I've enjoyed the work. I've enjoyed working with my colleagues, meeting business partners, trade partners across the country. And I will now get on to presenting the business presentation for this AGM. So I'd like to split the presentation into 2 parts. One is to cover the financials, both to give you a perspective and flavor on the historical performance as well as our current year's performance. And then I'll move to talk about the progress that we've made against the strategic imperatives that we had laid out. To talk first about the historical performance and long-term value creation, if you take a look at Whirlpool revenue, and now this I'm referring to standalone Whirlpool revenue, not including the Elica acquisition that we recently made. I'll cover that later. But essentially, if you go back about 14 years and look at 2008-2009, we had a revenue of about 1,719 crores. And today in 2022-23, we're at a revenue of 6,210 crores, which is a robust 9.6% CAGR over the last 14 years. Now, if you look within this, what is very interesting is between the years of 13-14 and 19-20, our revenue really grew very, very substantially. But post 19-20, in 2021 and 21-22, our revenue stayed flat on the standalone business. And in 22-23, we've shown a growth of about 3.6% on revenue on the standalone business. Now, actually what has happened post 2019-20 is 3 factors that have impacted revenue. The first is COVID. We are all aware of the impact of COVID on the business, both from a demand and from a supply point of view. The second set of impacts was basically on inflation. Now, inflation affected us in two ways. One is it affected the consumer in terms of actual spending on the durables industry. And the second part of it was actually the inflation that affected our costs and commodities, which basically meant that as the profits went down a little bit, the amount of investment you could do to drive your business also went down a bit. And lastly, the competitive challenges. So the market has been extremely competitive post-COVID, with many new players came in, as the chairman mentioned as well. Now, if I go and take a look at the bottom line, and by bottom line, I'm referring to profit before tax. And if you see the chart, there are two things here. The first one is at the bottom, you've got the bars, which is basically for the profit before tax in rupees crores. And the orange line is basically the profit before tax as a percentage of the revenue. Now, if I look at the CAGR for the PBT between 2008-9 and 2019-20, it was a very strong 20% growth in CAGR. In the last 3 years, driven by the lower growth in revenue that I mentioned on the previous page, as well as significant cost inflations that the industry has seen and Whirlpool has also seen, the profits have actually come down in the last 3 years. So right now in 22-23, we are sitting on a 247 crore PBT, which is a 4% of the revenue. And that reflects in the long-term value creation. What is very interesting is, if you take a look from 2008-2009, when our share price was 50 rupees or lesser, to the highs that we reached in 1920 and 2021, in the last 2 years, our share price has come down a little bit because of the challenges that we spoke about in the revenue and the profits chart. If you take a look between the 5 years between 2016 and 2021, whereas the market was growing at 14%, Whirlpool grew at 26%, whereas in the last 2 years, the market growing at 9%, Whirlpool is at -23%. So clearly, a job to do going forward. Now let me skip to the current year's financial performance to give you a flavor of what has happened in the last 12 months. So I now start and switch gears to move to the consolidated P&L. So this is basically Whirlpool and Elica combined. This refers to the operating P&L, does not include other income, just to show you the base business, how it's growing. So the top line growth is at about 7.6% with a revenue of 6,667 crores. This 7.6% growth has been driven by the following. Semi-automatic washers, we showed a strong single-digit growth. In the direct cool business, which is also known as a single-door business, we showed a double-digit growth. In air conditioners and in the Elica cooking business, we showed a strong double-digit growth. The air conditioners business is a smaller business for us. However, Elica cooking is actually a substantial business, and it's wonderful to see that strong double-digit growth come through there. What this shows me and what this shows my team, however, is that there is still significant opportunity for us to grow our sales going forward, especially in the premium segments of what we call T2. T2 is basically refrigerators and washers combined. So in this, we have a significant opportunity to basically grow these businesses, whether it be the top load washers, the front load washers, or the frost-free refrigerators. If I take a look now at EBITDA, EBITDA was at 370 crores on the consolidated, which is 5.6% of revenue. EBITDA is down by 110 basis points versus last year. And there are three things that basically are impacting it fundamentally, in addition to the volume effect that we spoke of. First, raw material inflation that happened through the fiscal. I mentioned this. There are two other reasons that actually happened between Jan to March 2023. The first is regulatory changes that happened on the refrigerator business. The refrigerator business is our majority business. The changes on regulatory were account of energy as well as capacity. So to account for these, we also took the opportunity to upgrade some of our lines in terms of performance and in terms of claims. And we invested in our products to cover these. The other thing that actually happened was we took some pricing correction actions in January to March 2023. Why did we have to do this? As you'll see later, our pricing index, which was historically what worked for us, went out of balance in 2022 calendar year. Through the calendar year, our pricing index was off, and as a result, it impacted our market shares. So we decided to take the pricing action in January to March 2023 to get us back to competitive pricing indices across the business. If I look at the PBT, it's 297 crores at about 4.5% of revenue. The other thing really worth highlighting is the cash conversion. So our cash flow from operating activities at 270 crores is a healthy 73% of EBITDA. And as mentioned, we propose to hold our dividend for the fiscal year 22-23 at rupees 5 per share. Now let me walk you through the standalone Whirlpool financials for the last 12 years on operating basis. Last 12 months on the operating basis. Top line was at 6,210 crores for the Whirlpool standalone business. Year on year, we grew about 3.6%. Now, I would call this revenue growth in a roller coaster year. It was a roller coaster for the market. It was also a roller coaster for us in terms of market shares. And I will walk you through the detail in a second. If I look at the EBITDA for this business, the EBITDA at 298 crores was affected, again, like I said in the previous page, by those three things: full year inflation, the January to March regulatory changes, cost up charges that we took for that, and the January to March pricing corrections that we've made to restore our competitive indices. What is really worth highlighting is that we've actually reduced non-material costs by 1% of revenue versus last year while doing this, which shows the focus we have on those areas of the P&L as well. Now let me walk you through the revenue growth. Now this is a little complex chart, so please stay with me on this. What we call T2 is basically refrigerators and washers volume market share. Now, the first line is basically what happened to the market itself. The second line that you see there is what happened to Whirlpool, or what did we do. And the third one is what is the market share impact. So in the months of April to September, the market actually witnessed very high double-digit growth. And the reason was because we were anniversarying a poor base on the COVID year of the previous year. In this time, Whirlpool pricing was off versus the competition, and we were impacted by the pricing index challenges across refrigerators and washing machines. And there was intensified competition at the same time. As a result of this, our market share actually declined in that period between April to end of the calendar year last year. January to March was actually a low growth, driven by a weak March month because of unseasonal rains and the weather. What we did in that time frame between January and March is we took those two things. One is we took the pricing correction across refrigerators and washing machines, and we also introduced the new ranges in both DC, which is direct cool or single door, and the frost-free ranges. We introduced them, the new ranges, in Jan to March. I'll explain a bit more about what is it we introduced later. We saw some movement in our market share towards the positive side, but not significant. April to June, we had the full pricing established in the market. We had the entire DC range in the market. We were sequentially introducing the frost-free range into the market. And more importantly, we stepped up our execution significantly. And we have seen market share growth coming through sequentially in April, May, and June. This gives us some confidence that momentum is back in the business and it's going in the right direction. However, we see a lot of further opportunities to actually grow, because we still have significant opportunity to grow in the top load washers. We have significant opportunity to grow in frost-free refrigerators, and we have significant opportunity to grow in front load washing machines, which we just introduced end of last year with the Make in India initiative. So that is the coverage on the revenue bits. Now let me go across to the margin trends. Now if you take a look at the standalone EBITDA, April to June, so the columns in the dark blue is basically 2022-23 fiscal, and the columns in the light blue are the previous fiscal. So you'll see that in April, June 2022 versus 21, our EBITDA was up versus the previous year, driven by our pricing. However, in July to December, you can see that the EBITDA was significantly going down, driven by two things. One is the volume impact that we had because of our market share losses, and the second is the commodities impact, as commodities were increasing in costs. In January to March 23 versus 22, we continued to see the profits lagging the previous year, because while the commodities started reversing, remember I had mentioned about the pricing that we took in January to March 23, and also about the cost of charges we took on account of regulatory and upgradation. Our outlook on this would be, we believe that profit improvement will come in the medium term, and we believe that that should be driven by a couple of factors. One, volume growth, especially in the premium segments, which is the mix. And the second is, we are working very actively on specific cost mitigation plans across every line of the P&L. And we believe this is what will lead to profit improvement in the medium term. I now shift gears to talk about Elica. So here, Elica has showed a very strong performance in the last couple of years, and there is also a tremendous opportunity to grow this category going forward. Why do we say that? Because the penetration of this category is still very low. And with India growing, we should find a significant growth opportunity here. In Elica India, we increased our ownership from 49% to 87% in 2021. We have strong capabilities in local manufacturing in Elica. We have strong capabilities in innovation. Our distribution is pretty good with opportunities to take it even further, and our brand awareness and reputation is good and strong in the market. Other than driving the Elica brand itself, we are also establishing Whirlpool as a mass premium cooking brand. So we'll have two brands in this space, Elica and Whirlpool. If you take a look at our growth, if you take a look at our revenue growth in the last 2 years, it's 21-22% in the last 2 years, which is very healthy and strong. And our profit before tax as a percentage of revenue is 15.3% and 13.7% respectively, which are very, very healthy growths. So we feel very good about this business. I now switch gears to talk about progress on the strategic imperatives. Before I go into the detail, I would like to say that we have refreshed our strategic imperatives in line with what's happening in the market, what we need to do going forward to win in the marketplace, and also in line with our global strategic imperatives. Before I go into the strategic imperatives itself, I would like to reiterate that we see India as being an amazing market to play in, the growth market in the world as we speak, for the next decade or couple of decades at least. What is really driving it? We all know this. One is the low penetration of the categories that we play in. In the last data that was published by IRS, refrigerators are still at 34%, washers at 14%, and most of the other categories less than 10%. So tremendous opportunity to grow if the economic situation is right. Is the economic situation right? Absolutely. We all know that India is one of the bright shining stars going forward for the world. And we can see that in the projections of some of the industry estimates that have been given, where high income and upper middle class income segments are expected to grow substantially going forward. Just for your perspective, in 2005, this segment, high plus upper mid, was about 17 million homes. In 2018, it was classified as 69 million homes. And in 2030, it's expected to be 197 million homes. So that basically means that from 2018 to 2030, high income and upper middle income moves from 1 in 4 households to 1 in 2 households. And as these homes step up, become more prosperous, they, like all of us, will want to upgrade their current appliances. They will want to have more appliances. And that gives us a very strong runway for growth. Now, within this, I talked about penetration, which obviously is more and more homes wanting more and more appliances. But there's also premiumization, which has been there before COVID, during COVID, and after COVID very consistently. And premiumization is absolutely here to stay. So premiumization and penetration, we believe, will really drive industry growth. In light of this, let's take a look at our refreshed strategic imperatives. Our strategic imperatives are the following. Inspire with our brands. This is something new, and I will talk a little bit more about it later. Win with product leadership. Third, build a competitive and resilient supply chain. Fourth, excellence in execution, which is critical in a market like India. And lastly, growing a consumer direct business. Let me now deal with each of these. If you look at our history of inspiring with our brands, it has been a lovely history. Whirlpool introduced the pedestals into India in refrigerators. Whirlpool was amongst the early pioneers in colors and finishes, and we helped grow this entire segment in the category. Whirlpool is a leading auto defrost in direct cool or single door refrigerators, as you can see there at the bottom of the picture. We are the leading 3-door refrigerator in India. We introduced locally made 3-door refrigerators in India, and we are now the leading 3-door refrigerator in India. We introduced colored interiors with the Platina range, and we're the first to introduce heaters into the semi-automatic washing machines. So, in a sense, historically, Whirlpool has been a pioneer in the India durables industry. This is what we want to rediscover as we're talking about inspiring with our brands in the way forward. One of the key focuses that I would like us to take is to really turbocharge consumer understanding. I truly believe, and so does the rest of our Whirlpool India organization, that consumer understanding has to be at the forefront if we want to win in this market. So we are really going to focus going forward very much on consumer understanding and driving our knowledge in all aspects of consumer understanding further. This will lead to two things. One, it will help us develop superior product insights leading to consumer preferred products. Second, it will help us deliver best-in-class communications. The combination of this should help drive increasing brand preference amongst our consumers, which should lead to increased market shares and increased brand equity of Whirlpool in the marketplace. If I go on to the next one, product leadership. Going forward and now, our new products are more focused on winning in the premium segments. Now, let me just explain this chart. The first column is the time frame of 2018 to 2021, what we were able to do in the market. And the second column is the time frame of the last 12 to 15 months. So while we did have innovation in the premium portfolio in 2018 to 2021, since it was affected by COVID quite substantially, we had good premium initiatives like glass door finish coming on frost free and the bottom mount that we introduced, but we were able to introduce that in limited models. And we also had some aesthetics upgrades on our direct cool business. We did introduce Bloom Wash, which is a fantastic product and continues to do very well. But if you look at 22-23, the premiumization has been quite significant. Now, as I mentioned before, in direct cool, we not only became regulatory compliant fit, we also used the opportunity to launch new winning patterns in the greater than 200 liters and also launched now a new premium segment for the first time, which is the 200 liter 5-star. If I go to frost free, which is the other big segment in refrigerators, we've not only met the regulatory compliance, but we've brought in several changes. We've upgraded our aesthetics in all of our range less than 400 liters, top mount. We have brought in convertibility in 27 minutes, which is the class leading claim right now in our refrigerators between 265 liters and 360 liters top mount. And we've also brought in the claim that you would have seen in the video, which is the 2 times longer vitamin preservation in all convertibles less than 400 liters in the top mount range. So that's a significant step up in terms of additions to the range. Not only that, we've brought in into semi-automatic washers the award-winning Hydro Wash in 8.5 and 9 kilos. We've also brought in the Stain Wash Pro and the Stain Wash Pro Plus range in the top load fully automatic washers. And last but definitely not the least, we've brought the front load washing machine with ozone refresh technology, which is a Make in India initiative from the end of last year. And we hope to see that really taking us to new heights. So I hope it's very clear from this that we are very, very focused on winning in the premium segments. And at this point in time, we are sitting on a set of products in the premium zone, which we never had before in our history. Let me talk about Elica's premiumization. Elica's is a business that has had a very, very good run in innovation historically and now. And just want to talk you through 3 of those examples. There are many, many examples in the Elica range across the last 2 years that they've brought in. Very, very good. But let me pick up 3. The first one is the iSmart inverter kitchen hood with brushless DC motors. It is the first time that brushless DC motors are being introduced in a very big way in the market. This gives you power savings of up to 60% versus what you have today. It operates on a flexible voltage because these are brushless DC motors. They operate anywhere between 40 and 290 volts with a cutoff if the voltage is exceeded or dropped down below a certain level. That's the specialty of this. It operates on 24 speeds and the motor adjusts automatically in RPM. And of course, there's an RPM display as well. So this is phenomenal cutting edge kind of technology that we've brought in to kitchen hoods. If I now go on to the direct flame range that we brought in, this is in hobs. This direct flame range is a very, very interesting innovation because this has got a fully sealed burner cup. So typically what happens is when you're cooking on the hob, some food or oil or something might spill over, which normally it does while you're cooking, and clog up the burner cups. In this, we are introducing fully sealed burner cups. So the burner cups are not going to be affected by any of that. On top of that, we've also got pan support with the heat shield. The advantage of this is that your knobs, you can see at the end of that diagram, you can see the knobs that you use. And you would have experienced if you cook that sometimes the knobs can get warm in these hob tops. The pan support with the heat shield makes sure that your knob does not get hot, and therefore it's another consumer relevant innovation that has been brought in. And the last, of course, they've got designer metallic knobs, heavy duty brass burners. So it's a fantastic new premium product. And lastly, on the premium range, if I move on to the built-in oven and microwave oven with a drop-down door, which is what consumers prefer in the premium range. So this is just a small example, 3 good examples of how we bring in premiumization in Aleka. And it's something that we've done historically and we'll continue to do going forward. Moving on to value chain, which is the third leg. World-class manufacturing is something that we follow very rigorously and diligently in Whirlpool, and we've had some significant achievements. You know that your Pune plant got a bronze in 2021. We're very happy to let you know that the Faridabad plant got a bronze in 2022, and we're working on the Puducherry plant as we speak. Would really like to highlight that the Make in India in Puducherry, you can see the visual at the bottom. You might have seen it in the video as well. That's the Puducherry plant. I was fortunate enough to go and have a look at it in person. I can tell you that front load washing machine, which you can see on the right hand side of the extreme chart, looks absolutely fantastic, and it turns out some really, really great products. So we're very, very proud of this factory and this line. The other part of the value chain, which is very important that we'd like to highlight, is a customer-centric service organization. We've made significant progress on this in the last 3 years. As you can see from Q3 of 2020, the Net Promoter Score has significantly improved. These are scores that consumers give based on the service that they've experienced, and we're maintaining it at a very, very high level right now. We do a lot of work with our service engineers. We do a lot of training, quality control, and so on and so forth. But there are 3 fundamental areas which I'd like to highlight. One is a differentiated call center. So whether it's premium desk or the top 20 city desk or the rest of India, we've got dedicated desks because there are different products, different logistics involved in it. So we take care of each individually. And there is a broad-based support team and an escalation desk that takes care of any escalations that need to happen. We use excellent technology, whether it's WhatsApp for business or video calling or automated location search, multiple technologies that we use, and we continue to keep innovating on technology. And lastly, the direct service network, it's like a COCO, like company-owned, company-operated, in-house network of service centers that we've done. We've set up 3 in different cities, and I'm very happy to report that the service experience that's coming through is quite strong in these, and they're financially robust. So this is something that we look forward to rolling out further. If I then move on to the 4th pillar, which is excellence in execution. Our aim is to win every day in every store with every consumer. It's a very lofty aim, not very easy to achieve, but therefore it's something to really worth, pursuing and running after, not just now, in the next months, but in the next quarters, and the next years, and the next decades. Winning every day in every store with every consumer is our end objective. What are we doing about it? There are multiple things. First of all, in the short term and medium term, we're trying to get stronger visibility of our premium lines and the new ranges that we've introduced. Second, we will go forward and make sure that we're monitoring the market to make sure we have the right pricing strategy in place that allows us to be competitive in the market. Third, we are looking at all sales and service executional KPIs very diligently and working the market. Fourth, leveraging great customer relationships. Whirlpool has a history of working very well with customers, and I've had the good fortune in the last 5 months to basically meet more than 100 customers in 10 different cities, and it's been a great learning experience, understanding from them, and in many of these cases, chain stores and big dealers and distributors, these are people who've been in the industry, in the market for 30, 40 years sometimes. And so it's really wonderful to be able to spend time and learn from them on what drives the business and to take their feedback. Because I like to say to my team that if the consumer is God, our trade customer partners are like the high priest. So you may not meet God every day, but you can certainly meet the high priest very often and take inputs from them. So this is something that we focus on in a very serious way. And lastly, we focus on e-commerce marketing. And the reason is also because we can measure it very well in terms of return on investment and take the right decisions on e-commerce marketing. Let me now go to the D2C capabilities that we are building. I talked about direct to consumer, winning in that as being one of the future growth opportunities. This is obviously a long-term bet. What is good is that we've been able to build a modern and scalable platform built with cutting-edge technologies right now. Our D2C operations backbone is very much in place. And the intent with this is across the years to deliver a differentiated online buying experience whereby we create loyalty and build trust for the Whirlpool brand. With that, I would like to conclude just reminding you again of our strategic imperatives: inspire with our brands, win with product leadership, build a competitive resilient supply chain, excellence in execution, and grow our consumer direct business. I would like to thank you. With that, I now hand over to Ms. Rupali Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Easwar. With the permission of Chair, we would now start the Q&A session. Members may please note, in order to avoid repetition, management will answer all the questions once all the speaker shareholders have asked their questions. So with that, let's kick off the Q&A.
Thank you, ma'am. We will now begin the Q&A session. I now call upon our first speaker shareholder, Mr. Ankur Sharma from HDFC Life Insurance Company Limited, having DPID IN 3001671 0142910 to ask your question.
Yeah, hi, this is Ankur. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I just had a few questions. One, if you could talk about the demand, especially on the entry segments, where we obviously have a large play, so both on revs, washers. How is the entry segment really doing? Are you seeing any signs of a pickup there? Also with the upcoming festive, how things there. Second, if you could also talk about margins, especially at the gross margin levels. We've clearly seen the slide over the last few years. You did talk about, inability to pass on, adequate price hikes. So how do we kind of address that piece, especially on the margins? And thirdly, on market share, and we do understand over the last few years, players like Beko, Lloyd, even higher, extremely competitive. So what exactly are we doing to kind of take back market share from these players? So yeah, those are the three questions.
Thank you, sir. I now call upon our second speaker shareholder, Mr. Faisal Hawa, having DPID 120332001087248 to ask your question.
So, thank you very much for an excellent presentation made. Many of my questions got answered in the presentation itself. So I will ask only now those questions which have not been addressed there. So one is, what is our parents' revenue as on date? The US parent, and what kind of a business plan or what they want us to achieve in say 5 years or even 10 years from today, given our large population and also potential of the Indian market. Second is, how do you feel that these devices that we manufacture will now be in an IoT age and in a 5G kind of a scenario? Are we having any kind of initiatives to really kind of make these devices also 5G and IoT compatible? And third is, why are we not taking a more younger branding? The ads over the years have almost remained the same. And why are we not having a much better social influencers to push our brands? And also, you did talk about an e-commerce strategy, but you really just apart from the D2C kind of the approach, you did not really elaborate on how we will actually approach this D2C strategy. Then again, what is our percentage of sales coming from the new age retailers like Reliance Retail or even for example from Proma, and what is the percentage of e-commerce sales also at this point of time? What are the KRAs of the new MD with respect to the salary, and how are those KRAs actually connected to the compensation made? What are the contribution of products that we introduced only 3 to 4 years ago into our revenues at this point of time? As far as our air conditioners are concerned, how is what are the kind of changes we are making to reduce the the flow of fluorochemicals into the environment. Then again, what is our gender ratio, and have there been any harassment cases? Then what is our share what is our market share in the various products that we operate in? And can you also give a geographical mix of the products? And you did elaborate on after sales, but can you just tell us, three very important steps that we have taken to improve? Again, what are the segments that you would want to get into to really, penetrate into? Because India is finally a very poor country, also kind of a market also, just apart from the middle class. Is there any strategy that we are discussing there? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker shareholder is Mr. Mukesh Chaudhary, having DPID 1208 1600 7243 0599 to ask your question. Sir, kindly proceed with your question.
Good morning. Yeah, hi everyone. Very good morning. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So first of all, a very good morning to the chairman, MD sir, board members, CFO, company secretary, and other few shareholders. I am Mukesh Chaudhary, a shareholder from the company, joining from Gurgaon. I first of all would like to welcome our new managing director, Mr. Narasimhan Ishwar. He has worked with very well-reputed companies, and we hope that our company will do well under his leadership. Sir, my question is, in the annual report, you have mentioned that during the year, the company has significantly added to the journey it has embarked upon, on few years back to the premiumized product portfolio across refrigerators, ACs, and washing machines. Further, you also mentioned that the demand for premium product continues to grow. In light of the above, I would like to ask, what are some of the key premiumization initiatives that the company has taken so far? Secondly, what kind of contribution you aspire to have from premium segments in the next few years? And thirdly, are there any new premium category of products that the company is planning to enter into? Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I now call upon our next speaker shareholder, Mr. Nikhil Upadhyay, having DPID IN 3005 131 3742 799 to ask your question.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Please proceed with your question.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I have already sent the list of my questions, so do you want me to repeat them?
List, and we would be answering those questions. If there is anything else you would like to add, please do share with us.
No, those are my only questions.
Thank you, sir. I now call upon our next speaker shareholder, Mr. Mayank Jain, having DPID 1208 1600 5825 4934 to ask your question.
Hello, I'm audible?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Chairman, sir. I'm Mayank Jain from Rewari, Haryana. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak at the AGM. Sir, my question is, in my experience, majority of the industry leaders have spoken about inflation and the impact of inflation having on both cost as well as the consumer sentiments. I would like to understand what is the impact of inflation on our business. Do we anticipate that inflation will continue to be the concern for the company, and can you elaborate on some of the major measures that have been taken by the company to offset inflation? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker shareholder is Mr. Lokesh Gupta, having DPID 130 414 000 164 7317 to ask your question.
हेलो हेलो सर, आप मुझे सुन पा रहे हैं?
हाँ जी सर।
चेयरमैन सर, मैं लोकेश गुप्ता आपका और सभी बोर्ड मेंबर्स का स्वागत करता हूं। सर, कंपनी के काफी पुराने शेयर होल्डर्स हैं, लेकिन वीसी मीटिंग से जुड़ने का अवसर पहली बार मिला है। सर, एक्सीलेंट चेयरमैन स्पीच हो रही थी जिसमें कंपनी की ग्रोथ के बारे में, फ्यूचर प्लान के बारे में आपने सब कुछ बताया, बाकी पूछने के लिए बचता नहीं है। लेकिन सर, हम चाहते हैं जो हमारे पुराने कस्टमर्स हैं और हम अपने जो प्रोडक्ट यूज कर रहे हैं, बाद में हम अपने प्रोडक्ट को अपग्रेड करते हैं, तो क्या हम उनके लिए एक्सचेंज या रिप्लेस की कोई स्कीम लेकर आते हैं जिससे वो अपने पुराने प्रोडक्ट को अपग्रेड करा सके? थोड़ा इस बारे में बताइए सर। और एएमसी, हम कोई नया प्रोडक्ट लेते हैं, हमें 1 साल की या दो साल की हमें वारंटी मिलती है सर। क्या हम कंपनी को अपने कॉल सेंटर या किसी से उन्हें इस बात की सूचना दे सकते हैं क्या हम अपने प्रोडक्ट को एएमसी 1 या 2 साल के लिए बढ़ा लें सर? थोड़ा इस बारे में बताइए सर। आने वाले फेस्टिवल सीजन की हमारी क्या तैयारी है सर? कंपटीशन है, बिल्कुल है सर, लेकिन हम लीडर हैं सर। हमें विश्वास है आपकी लीडरशिप पर, टीम वर्क पर। जो भी करोगे आप अच्छा करोगे, कंपनी की बुक में रिफ्लेक्ट होगा, हेल्थी डिविडेंड हमें मिलेगा। एक मैं सेक्रेटरी के बारे में भी कहूंगा, जिस तरह से कंपनी सेक्रेटरी और उनका पूरा डिपार्टमेंट्स ने काम किया है, हमें मीटिंग से जोड़ा है, उनके लिए भी उनका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। सर, एक अच्छा पोर्टल हमें मिला है जिसपे हम पेन इंडिया के शेयर होल्डर साहब से जुड़ पाते हैं सर। मैं आशा करूंगा हम एजीएम जो भी करेंगे इसी पोर्टल पे करेंगे और हम आपसे इसी तरह जुड़े रहेंगे। धन्यवाद सर।
Thank you, sir. I now call upon our next speaker shareholder, Mr. Ashok Kumar Jain, having DPID IN 300118102320297 to ask your question.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Please proceed with your question.
A very good morning, Chairman, sir, Board of Directors, and my co-fellow shareholders attending this e-meeting. First of all, I want to thanks to give me opportunity to speak. Sir, I want to ask, there is very less sales in the AC, sir. So what we are, sir, तो हम इसके लिए हम क्या कर रहे हैं कि आगे इसकी सेल्स बढ़े? एंड रेफ्रिजरेटर्स एंड वॉशिंग मशीन में हमारी काफ़ी अच्छी सेल हुई हैं। तो सर मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूँगा, एसी, माइक्रोवेव एंड डिशवॉशर के लिए हम क्या करें कि उसके आगे सेल्स बढ़े वर्लपूल में? थैंक यू सर।
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker shareholders are Ms. Bharti Saraf and Mr. Santosh Saraf, having DPID 120678000017638 to ask your question.
Hello.
Sir, we can hear you. Kindly proceed with your question.
श्री मैं भारतीय सभा में ज्वाइंट होल्डर संतोष कुमार सराफ बोल रहा हूँ। माननीय सभापति जी, उपस्थित निदेशक मंडल के सदस्यगण, अधिकारीगण और कर्मचारीगण, मैं संतोष कुमार सराफ कलकत्ता से आप सभी को नमस्कार करता हूँ। आशा करता हूँ आप लोग अच्छे स्वास्थ्य में होंगे सर। सर, मैं मैनेजमेंट को धन्यवाद देता हूँ काफी अच्छा रिजल्ट देने के लिए। इसके साथ मैं उन कर्मचारियों का आभार प्रकट करता हूँ जो हमारी फैक्ट्री और आदि फील्ड में काम करते हैं, जिनकी कड़ी मेहनत का फल है कि आज हमें कंपनी इतना अच्छा रिजल्ट दे रही है और इतने अच्छा प्रदान कर रही है सर। मैं उन कर्मचारी भाई से बहनों से प्रार्थना करता हूँ, आप इसी तरह हमें रिजल्ट काम करते रहिए, जिससे कंपनी हमें और ज्यादा अच्छा रिजल्ट और अच्छा डिविडेंड देने के लिए बाध्य होगी। क्योंकि अगर आप काम करें तो कंपनी को इनकम होगा, और इनकम होगा तो कंपनी हमें जरूर देगी सर। सर, मैं ज्यादा कुछ नहीं, मैं 2-3 प्रोजेक्ट, तो इस साल रिन्यूअल, इस साल नया प्रोडक्ट आपने क्या बाजार में निकाला है, इसके बारे में कोई खबर तो दीजिएगा सर। दूसरा सर, रिन्यूअल एनर्जी के लिए आप क्या कदम उठाए हैं, इसका भी कोई खबर तो जरूर बताइएगा कि आपने ये रिन्यूअल के लिए कदम उठाए सर। दूसरा सर, वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट के लिए आपने क्या कदम उठाया बताइएगा, क्योंकि हमारा देश तीसरी महाशक्ति तभी बन सकता है जब हम ज्यादा वुमेन को एम्पावरमेंट करें सर। जैसे अभी कल ही मोदी जी ने बताया कि जो चंद्रयान 3 गया है उसमें नारी शक्ति का बहुत बड़ा योगदान है सर। तो मैं प्रार्थना करता हूँ नारी शक्ति को आप अगर जिम्मेदारी देंगे तो अच्छा काम करेगी और हर काम में वह कर सकती है सर। ज्यादा कुछ नहीं कहता हूँ मैं, एक बार फिर रिक्वेस्ट करूँ, अगले साल अगर फिजिकल मीटिंग करते हैं सर तो उसमें 10 से 15 मिनट का ऑप्शन रखिए बीसी मीटिंग करने का, जिससे हम हमारे कर्मचारी जो काम करते हैं और आप जो जितना काम करते हैं उनके प्रति अपना आभार प्रकट कर सके और उनके काम की सराहना कर सके। सर, एक मैं अपने रूपाली मैडम को भी और उनकी टीम का भी आभार प्रकट करता हूँ, जो काफी अच्छा मतलब हमें कनेक्ट करने के लिए और आखिर हम लोग को बैलेंस शीट आज भेजने के लिए देरी नहीं की। सर, मैं आशा करता हूँ रूपाली मैडम फ्यूचर में हमसे इसी तरह का संपर्क रखेगी। सर, और एक बार ज्यादा नहीं बोलते हुए सिर्फ यही कहूंगा सर कि हमारे जितने भी शेयर होल्डर और जितने भी कर्मचारी, जितने भी डायरेक्टर है, उनके परिवार को 2023-24 की शुभकामना देता हूँ और भगवान से प्रार्थना करता हूँ, भगवान 2023-24 आपके लिए, आपकी फैमिली के लिए और हमारी कंपनी के लिए हेल्दी, वेल्दी और प्रॉस्पर सेफ्टी के साथ व्यतीत। तो सर बस यही प्रार्थना है सर कि अगले साल बीसी में जरूर मौका दीजिएगा। फिजिकल करते तो बीसी का ऑप्शन रखिएगा। जय हिंद, जय भारत, नमस्कार। मॉडरेटर का भी आभार प्रकट करता हूँ जिन्होंने काफी अच्छी सर्विस दी है। नमस्कार।
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker shareholder is Mr. Jaydeep Bakshi, having DPID IN 301-5493-620-3908 to ask your question.
Yes. Very good noon, sir, Chairman and MD and Board of Directors. Myself, Jaydeep Bakshi, connecting from the city of Kolkata. Thanks to our Company Secretary, Rupali Madam, for giving an opportunity to express my view and presenting a detailed and colorful annual report, and also to the entire Secretarial Department for keeping in touch with us, for attending this video conference, and also to the moderator for assisting me. Sir, in initial position, both presentation both by our chairman and MD, it's a well descriptive one and really explained our company's position.
Sir, we have lost audio connection with Mr. Jaydeep Bakshi, so we move on to our next speaker shareholder, Mr. Raju Verma, having DPID IN 302-9941-007964 to ask your question.
सर, आवाज आ रही है मेरी आपको? जो
जी सर।
जी नमस्कार, मैं राजू वर्मा, शेयर होल्डर, नई दिल्ली से बोल रहा हूँ। आप सभी का और सेक्रेटरियल डिपार्टमेंट का धन्यवाद करता हूँ जिन्होंने मुझे इस 62nd AGM में बोलने का मौका दिया। सर, हमें अपनी मैनेजमेंट टीम पर पूरा भरोसा है कि वह जो भी प्रस्ताव लाएगी फ्यूचर में वो कंपनी के हित में होगा और हम समझते हैं कि कंपनी का आने वाला समय काफी अच्छा रहेगा। मैं सभी रेजोल्यूशन का समर्थन करता हूँ और सर, चेयरमैन स्पीच आपकी इतनी ट्रांसपेरेंट है कि काफी क्वेश्चन अपने आप ही क्लियर हो जाते हैं और पूर्व वक्ता भी काफी कुछ कह चुके हैं। आने वाले समय में सर AGM को VC से ही करें। मैं कंपनी के सुखद भविष्य की कामना करता हूँ। सर, मैंने अपनी कंपनी के हर प्रोडक्ट को यूज किया है और जो सर्विसेज है इज टू गुड। ऐसे ही वर्लपूल को नंबर 1 नहीं कहते सर, मैंने ये फील किया है और मैंने उन प्रोडक्ट्स को बरता है। तो थैंक यू सो मच सर, थैंक यू।
Thank you, sir. I now call upon our next speaker shareholder, Mr. Aspi Besania, having DPID 1201-25-0000-010241 to ask your question.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, loud and clear. Please proceed with your question.
Sir, I'm Aspi from Bombay. Thanks for giving me an opportunity. Sir, next year also when the physical AGM starts, please continue with hybrid meetings so that we can also participate. Sir, I welcome our new MD and I would like to know when he'll get market share in our products in India, the same market share what we have in US. Because in US we have a very good market share, whereas in India our market share is hardly anything. So why can't we have a good market share in India also, similar to what we have in US? That's the only question I would like to ask. Thank you very much and all the best for the future.
Thank you, sir. I now call upon our next speaker shareholder, Mr. Praveen Kumar, having DPID IN 30011-810-449827 to ask your question. Sir, request you to.
Sir?
Yes, sir. Please proceed.
A very, very good morning to my respected chairperson, respected MD, well-decorated esteemed board of director, and my co-fellow shareholder who joined this meeting. Myself, Praveen Kumar, joining this meeting from New Delhi. I have few observations which I love to share with the house. But first of all, I love to thank our respected chairperson, respected MD, for very, very in-depth address to the shareholder with all the presentation. I think for a retail point of view, for a retail investor point of view, sir, I'm very, very thankful to you. It is very, very important. It is very, very informative also. So I'm very, very thankful for the management for his very, very investor friendly approach, the ethical way our company is running. I'm part of our company for more than a decade. And sir, I truly salute your dedication, devotion, focus, energy to bring sustainable growth for retail investor like me. I'm very, very thankful for part of such a legacy, sir. Our product is world class. First, I become customer of our company, and then I become the shareholder of our company. So it's a win-win situation for me. And sir, I am very, very thankful to you. I supported all the resolution we set out for the notice today. And sir, as far as the question is concerned, my earlier speaker asked few questions, so I don't want to repeat them. But yes, our touchline say everyday care, sir. It is not me, but every household of India is very, very thankful to you because you bring world-class product to our home country. So I'm very, very thankful to the entire management team. And sir, one more thing, I love to thank our marketing team, our CFO, for designing our annual report in such a way it is a catalog as well as very, very investor-friendly figures, which will be understood by retail investors. One more thing which is very, very important for a retail investor like me, and everybody's agree with me 100%. The litmus test of a company is also decided no matter how good you are, but if the communication is real. And in this regard, I love to thank our company secretary, Rupali Singh ji, Urvi, and the entire team, because they are very, very prompt. If you have any queries during the time also, it will be properly clarified in a very, very ethnic way. I think Rupali ji is the greatest asset for us because it उनका जो function है, it always says in very, very bold letter that yes, we listen to the retail investor, we care for the retail investor, and we are always there with their queries and with their suggestions. So I'm very, very thankful. And this is the platform which I love to share my compliments and compliment. I just pray to the God that he will shower the positivity on you and the entire professional team so that you will take our company to the near height. I do agree with you that despite so many challenges worldwide and microeconomic challenge in our country, our company come out with a very, very satisfactory promotion. So I wish you all the very, very best with all the professionalism. And I'm very, very thankful to the entire management team for this opportunity. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker shareholder is Mr. Sachin Sarvadanya, having DPID 120447028741610 to ask your question.
Hello.
Sir, please proceed with your question.
Good morning, board member, chairman, sir, and my dear shareholder friends. My name is Sachin Sarvadanya. I would like to thank the management for registering me as a speaker at the AGM. Sir, I have received the annual report and I have gone through the same. I have some question, but that has been answered by your presentation. So I have no more question, and I wish you all the best and hope for increase the share price of the company under the leadership of Ishwar sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now call upon our next speaker shareholder, Mr. Dashrath Kengale, having DPID 1208-1800-9251-3533 to ask your question.
Hello.
Sir, kindly proceed with your question.
Good morning, Chairman, sir, Mr. Ishwar, Managing Director, sir, Ajay Jain, CFO, sir, and Rupali Singh, Company Secretary. Sir, I would like to also thank the Company Secretary and her team for allowing me to share my views and speak at the AGM. also thanks you for sharing the business inside with us. I am sure the other shareholders will agree with me that this has been really helpful. Sir, I had a question on competition. How do you see the emerging competition landscape with larger players like Lloyd, Voltas, Reliance entering this space? What is the foreseeable risk to our market share? Do you think you have to increase your brand spend because of rising competition intensity? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I now call upon our next speaker shareholder, Mr. Rishikesh Chopra, having DPID 1208 1600 2051 2886 to ask your question.
Hello, am I
Kindly
audible,
proceed.
sir?
Yes, sir.
I thank for giving me the opportunity to speak at this AGM. I am a retired senior citizen from Delhi NCR, Kaushambi Ghaziabad. I, along with my family members who have invested around 10 lakhs in your company, but my investment is in loss. I appreciate the secretariat assistance provided by Mr. Bali Singh and her team in facilitating to attend this AGM. She is very prompt in encouraging us to speak at this AGM. As most of my queries have already been covered by the previous speakers and the management, I'll limit my queries to a few. What is the whistleblower policy in your company? What steps you have taken to empower women in your company like ISRO has done? Acquisition of Ilika India was done by you in 2021. What benefits you are achieved so far in that direction? Segment-wise revenue breakup in refrigeration, what is the breakup? Washing machine, what is the breakup? In air conditioner, what is the breakup? How do you select auditors, statutory auditors, and internal auditors? How do you check privileges leakages in your company in commercial and production line? With a view to enlarge market penetration, are you considering any discount coupons for shareholders? Last but not the least, I wish management and all executives, workforce a happy Raksha Bandhan, all coming festivals, and pray to God for all prosperity in your company under your leadership. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker shareholder is Mr. Vinay Sutan, having DPID IN 3002 1432 646067 to ask your question.
Good afternoon, Chairman, sir. Mr. Narasimhan Ishwar, MD, all directors, and my fellow shareholders. I am Vinay Sudan, joining this meeting from Kochi, Kerala. Sir, I have been a shareholder of the company for a number of years. In 2018, when the company invested in the cooking business, it was an interesting investment. And if I see the annual reports as well as the press releases, you have time and again mentioned that the company's subsidiary, which is into the kitchen appliances business, is a success story, and that its sales and profits are growing in healthy double digits. It seems it was a good investment that was made by the company. Can you share some insights on the performance of the subsidiary and to what are the levers that have worked for them? Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman, sir, we now reconnect Mr. Jaydeep Bakshi, who we had lost the audio connection. Sir, kindly accept the unmute request and speak.
Yes. Good afternoon, ma'am. Thank you for giving me an opportunity once again. Sir, just where I left, congrats for the revenue which were generated, and credit goes to all who are involved for giving this opportunity. And every industry, including ours, has hit by this input cost and the extra spending on the purchases and the inflation. So how do we come out from this scenario? what is our thought process regarding this, and our presence in the multiple cities are there, and what are our thoughts for our in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Sir, and there is a change in the energy norms for refrigerator. How much has been dispensed our old inventory stocks? And regarding the counter the low price products in the market, and how also in the quality wise, how are we planning to counter this? And any improved range of refrigeration which we have thought of, what has been the pricing gap regarding this? And cost saving thoughts for our different units also. And I'm personally using our products and really satisfied with this. Nothing to add more, sir. In the initial speech, you have explained our company's position. Nothing to add on this. And this video conference helps us to connect from different places. Thank you, sir, for giving an opportunity. And if possible, if there is a planned visit possibility, kindly let us know. Thank you, sir, and all stay safe. And thank you and greetings for the coming festival season. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, speaker shareholders, for your questions. That was the last speaker shareholder. I now hand over the proceedings to our chairman.
Thank you, shareholders, for your questions. I would now like to invite Mr. Narasimhan Ishwar, our Managing Director, Mr. Aditya Jain, CFO, and Ms. Rupali Singh, our Company Secretary, to respond to the shareholder questions, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to cover the questions that have been raised through email to us already prior. Some of our shareholders had mentioned that they had sent through email, and several have, as well as combine it to the questions that were raised today. And we'll try to cover everything that we can cover today. In case we don't cover anything, please be assured that we can get in touch and cover it through email as well. So one of the first questions that came, and these were on the strengths and priorities for myself as the incoming Managing Director. Questions were from Mr. Nikhil Upadhyay and Ms. Sina K. The question really was that what are the strengths of this company that I believe that I would be leveraging to restore profitability in the future and create value for shareholders. And the second question was what are the key priorities that I would have for Whirlpool India. So thank you for the questions. The strengths of the company, I think they're slightly different. So the strength of the company, and I spent a lot of time in the market speaking to many stakeholders, internal and external. Now, I think there are three big strengths that come through. The first one is the brand name and the reputation of Whirlpool that has been built over the years. The second one is the excellent relationships we have with our trade partners, with the trade customers. And the last one is the people and the culture that we have at Whirlpool, globally and definitely in India. So these are big strengths that I think we will leverage going forward and make that part of our future planning as well. If I look at the key priorities, I think the key priorities are what I called out as the strategic imperatives. These are the key priorities that we will focus on going forward. So just to recount them from memory, we make sure that we inspire with our brands, both on product and then on communication. Make sure that we deliver product leadership in all the areas that matter. Make sure that we have excellent execution, have a very strong and resilient supply chain that will help deliver value to the shareholders, and over time build our D2C business. So that would, in a nutshell, be my analysis of the strengths that we have and also the priorities that we have going forward. If I move on to the next question, there were a set of questions on Elica from Mr. Vinay Sutan and from Mr. Nikhil Upadhyay. On the insights on performance of the subsidiary of Elica and to what are the levers that have worked for them. So very simply, I think Elica has had a history of really good innovation. And this innovation continues. So they're always at the cutting edge of bringing in products into the market, some of which I explained in my presentation, 3 of them that I highlighted, but there are many more. And that is something that the team has done very well over the years. But also they make sure that always the value equation is right for the consumers through a lot of market analysis and understanding. They're very close to the customers in understanding, what is happening in the market, which I think is a very important thing in the durables business. So the execution capability is very strong. And lastly, they have a very experienced management team. So we are very proud of the Elica business and the Elica team that's working on the business. And those are the key levers that they basically use to drive business. There was also a question of the customer segment that Elica targets. That's pretty clearly the high income and mid to high income households in India. And what is differentiated was also the question. And very simply, It is getting the right innovation at the right pricing indexes, with supported by great execution and communication. That is how we differentiate ourselves in the market. If I now move on to the next set of questions from Mr. Nikhil Upadhyay and Mr. Mukesh Chaudhary. Thank you for your questions. There's quite a few on them. This is on premiumization. So the first question is on, we need to focus on premium end, and we're seeing more competition from certain brands. So what do we need to do differently here? So I think it's a great question. I think I answered a bit of it during the presentation where I talked about how we are approaching premiumization with respect to new products that we're bringing into the market. What I would like to really highlight is that I think premiumization is something that's not a secret. I mean, everybody knows it. All the players in the market know it. Question really is, what kind of new products are we going to bring in? And we are trying to focus on our strategies. And similarly, with the existing products that you have, how can you really drive it in the market? So both are things that we are deeply focused on. And we will continue to basically drive our strategies and our execution plans without getting distracted by everything else that's going on in the marketplace. If we follow our strategies and we are able to execute our strategies to the limit that we want, I think we'll be able to get back market share. The second question was, what are the key premiumization initiatives the company has taken so far? And are there any new premium category products the company is planning to enter into? Well, the premiumization initiatives, I had covered quite a few of them in my presentation, whether it was on single door refrigerator or on the frost free. So I talked about convertibility, I talked about the IntelliFresh Pro range. I also talked about the front load washers that we have come up with the ozone refresh technology, as well as hydro wash and semi-automatic and stain wash pro and stain wash pro plus in the premium range of fully automatic. So there is a lot of initiatives that we've basically put into place in the last 12 months that we've introduced, including the entire refrigerator range in the last 6 months. Are we entering new premium category products? All the time. So there is so much to do in refrigerators, in washing machines, in air conditioners, and so on and so forth. And we are looking to fill all the gaps over time. Obviously, everything cannot be done overnight, but we will keep plugging away at wherever we need to work, and we will bring in the right initiative pipeline that the market can bear. And the last point on premiumization was about penetration and premiumization, saying that in premiumization we are seeing this trend, but what's happening on penetration? Well, on penetration, across the last, say, 3-4 years, since COVID impacted, we've seen, because of a variety of factors on COVID, including the economic environment, etc., the penetration growth probably is not been as strong as it was before 2019. But we feel it's just a matter of time, because now that India is completely back, we are free from COVID, things are coming back into control. We can see kind of strong indicators on the horizon that India is going to be a very strong economic growth across the next decade or 2 decades. Penetration is going to come back. That's what we feel. Difficult to predict exactly when and how, but it's just a matter of time. And we'll keep staying focused on our strategies to make sure that when that growth happens, we are at the forefront of that growth. The next set of questions is on market share. So a few questions on this from Mr. Ankur Sharma of HDFC, also Mr. Nikhil Upadhyay, Mr. Hava, and Mr. Aspi. So I'll just try to take the questions in order. The first one is, what steps are we taking to regain market shares in refrigerators, washing machines, and air conditioners? So I think I talked a lot about what we're doing in refrigerators and washing machines in quite a bit of detail in terms of the products that we're bringing in. I think the critical thing as a strategy is to bring in the right innovation in the right segments and make sure that we cover all the segments, bring it in at the right pricing, which creates value for the consumer. And after that is done, you need to make sure that you have very strong execution where you're able to communicate the benefits that you're driving to the consumer, and make sure that that appetite appeal is there for the consumer to go and buy your brands. And once that virtuous cycle starts, it will just build on itself. So that really is what we're trying to focus on, getting the right products, getting the right value equation, and making sure that our execution is very strong. And that goes across all categories of products that we play in. There was also a question on market share challenges and how is it across the different segments. Like I said, the market share challenge that we had last year was pretty broad-based. It was not any one particular little segment or something. And that was because the pricing indices were off, like I mentioned. And that is something that we've covered off at the the first quarter of this year, and you're starting to see the impacts already in the second quarter. In addition to, it's always a combination of things that work. It's not just one thing. So we've got in new products also, we've got in much better execution, and we've got the right pricing, and hopefully that should take us in the right direction going forward. In air conditioners specifically, our market shares happen to be lower than refrigerators and washing machines in air conditioners. And as I said right at the beginning of my presentation, we've actually shown good volume growth in fiscal year 22-23 on air conditioners. So our endeavor will be to try to grow the market shares further in all the categories that we play in going forward. There was a question also on entry segments progress. How has that been with the competition? We are starting to see some good growth on our entry segments in line with all the changes that I mentioned, which is the right pricing, the right products, which has been in place now, as well as the right execution, which we continue to focus on. Long way to go, but I think entry segments is going right now for the last, say, 3 months or so, it is going quite in line with how we would expect it to see. Overall, the segment itself is coming back to growth a little bit now. I think that is something we need to see how it progresses as we go forward. Like I said, with India coming back to a consistent and strong GDP growth across the next years and penetration increasing, we think the entry segment should grow as well. There was a question on the market share of India. When will it be equal to the market share of the US? I would just say, aapke muh mein ghee shakkar. I really would love to see that result. It will happen, inshallah, one day, and we will work towards making it happen one day. The US parent's approach, Mr. Awad basically asked the question. The US parent has clearly called out that India is the #1 growth market in the world. That is based on information that's publicly available about India's expected GDP growth and the economic situation in the world and in India. And given that it's a #1 growth market, we are expected to grow and grow well. And so that is something that is a task that we will take with pleasure. There was also a question, I'm just bringing this into the market share, though it was mentioned, I just don't want to miss it, about is the KRAs of the management linked to the business? Yes, absolutely. I think myself and the management team, all our emoluments and everything, incentives and so on and so forth, are basically linked to the key management KPIs that we need to deliver, all of which will lead to higher revenues and higher profits and higher cash for the company. So yes, it is absolutely linked to that. With that, I would like to pass on the questions on margins and costs to Mr. Aditya Jain, CFO.
Thank you, Mr. Ishwar. I'll not take on the questions specifically on the margins and the cost side. There was first question from Mr. Ankur Sharma from HDFC. The question was about sustainable gross margin and EBITDA margin post the price rollbacks that we've taken recently. So as we've spoken during Mr. Ishwar's presentation, current year financial results have been impacted by the inflation which we've seen through the year. We've taken a pricing due to which we lost and we are challenging the market share. And from January onwards, we got impacted by the regulatory changes which happen and which we use as an opportunity to augment our product as well. And we took some pricing rollbacks. But with the strategies in place, we believe in the medium term we can improve our profitability, and some of those strategies are as follows. First one is on the volume side. We're seeing the volume momentum coming back because of the price rollback actions we've taken, because of the investments in the new products, the new ranges of frostware which has gone into the marketplace, plus our sales and marketing strategies and the focus on the excellence in execution. If this volume momentum, we see the incremental margins flowing into the P&L, as well as we get the scale and efficiency benefits. Number two is about the entire premiumization, which is about selling high-end products, premium-end products of frostware and fully automatic washing machines, both top load and horizontal access. And if you sell more of these products, you get higher gross margins per unit, and which will be accretive to the bottom line. Third, we will also anniversary the price rollbacks, which will also have an impact on the year-over-year profitability. Last but not the least, we have robust cost-saving programs, and we have dedicated teams who are working on cost mitigations across all the lines of the P&L, be it material cost, be it product cost, and be it all costs outside of material cost as well. And with these strategies in place, we believe in the medium term we'll be able to improve our profitability. The second question is from Nikhil Upadhyay. The question is on, again, on the cost part, wherein we are witnessing the deflation happening, but the same is not getting reflected. So how do we see the competitive dynamics evolving? I would like to answer this question in two parts. Part E of the question is, yes, we are seeing the deflation in the commodity cost, but if I look at the last financial year, first 2 quarters, we saw significant inflation. It's in third quarter that we saw some softening of the commodity cost. And in fourth quarter, we saw a significant deflation happening. Now, in terms of the P&L, the entire benefit of that commodity cost was not, the entire impact of that deflation is not realized into the P&L because we carry inventory of about 90 to 100 days, and that's why it starts flowing into the subsequent quarter. Part B of the answer to this question is that P&L is a combination of a lot of actions which the company has taken, which includes the action on pricing rollbacks. There are impacts of product mix changes which flows into the P&L, and then there's impact of regulatory changes which has impacted the product cost, etc., etc. So it is actually very difficult to single out an impact of cost deflation and correlating it to the bottom line of the P&L. So the third question on cost and margins is from Mayank Jain. The question is, what is the impact on inflation on our business? And do we anticipate that inflation will continue to be a concern for the company? And can you elaborate on some of the major measures that we've taken by the company to offset the inflation? Again, yes, inflation has two impacts to our businesses. A, on the consumer side, when there's significant inflation, the purchasing power of the consumer comes down, and it significantly impacts the entry segment of the demand, in which we've seen in the early part of the year when there was high inflation that the entry segments were not growing. The other part of the impact on inflation is the cost in the commodity side, wherein we see a significant increase in the cost and our inability to pass back the whole cost increase to the consumers, and hence is an impact to the margins, which we witnessed in the whole of the last year. But as you've spoken, we've seen the commodity costs coming down from Q3 and significant depletion happening in Q4. And we've also seen commodities costs coming down in April to June as well. This trend is also in line with the macroeconomic trends. We are seeing the softening of the CPIs over the last 6 months, and WPI is trending in the negative territory right now. So essentially, with the softening of commodity cost, we don't see any significant impact of inflation as we go into balance of the years. And we also impact with this deflation and CPI and WPI coming down, except for a little bit of impact which we're seeing on account of food inflation, that the entry segment demand should also come back. Having said that, as I said, that we have dedicated product cost and supply chain teams whose job is to constantly work on cost mitigating actions plans across all line items of the P&L. There were similar questions from Jaideep Bakshi as well in terms of the impact of inflation, etc. And some of the cost measures we have taken. As I said, our cost productivity teams are continuously engaged in terms of driving costs down through various cost reduction programs. They are both on product side as well as on the non-product side. On the product side, we work on the design part of the product. How can we bring the product cost down in terms of the tear down analysis, in terms of localization efforts, and in terms of material substitution, etc. And on the non-product side as well, how do we optimize the cost for each line of the P&L through efficiencies and in terms of commercial negotiations. So that is an ongoing activity that we continue to drive, and you've also seen that in the last year, because of huge focus on this activity, we've been able to reduce non-material cost by 1 percentage points of our revenue. So that is the process which the company follows as far as the cost reduction programs are concerned. With this, I'll pass it back to Mr. Ishwar to answer some of the next questions.
Thank you, Aditya. Now going on to Mr. Nikhil Upadhyay's question on profits versus market share. So the question really is, considering we're the owners to gain market share, do you think the pressure on profitability is sustained further even post raw material deflation? And also a follow-up question, which is when they look at Whirlpool Global, when they look at India, what is their key focus gain, market share or profitability? So the answer, as you can imagine, is in any good corporate, and Whirlpool is a good corporate, profitable market growth is what we really want to get in the medium term. Obviously, market growth is important. Volumes are what gives you your scale, but profits are also important. So the answer is really both. And the important thing is how do we go about doing that? Like I mentioned, other than all the other points that Aditya mentioned, I think fundamentally we need to make sure that while our revenues and volumes are growing, we are improving the mix through new product initiatives as well as driving the existing premium products. And make sure that we have improved execution in the market. So that's the one area to drive the top line and the mix basically. And the second one is to do the cost reduction across all lines of the P&L. So I think for us, market share is very important. Doing it profitably in the medium term and long term is extremely important as an organization. That is something that we share as a philosophy in India, and it's shared by the global corporation as well. Going on to the next questions on competition. So this is from Mr. Ankur Sharma as well as Mr. Nikhil Upadhyay and Mr. Dashrath Khangale. And the kind of questions are on competitive intensity, how is it with all the new players coming in and so on and so forth. Plus, at the global level, parents talk about competitive dynamics, which has played out across multiple markets and few players consolidated the market. What are the key learnings from our global experience? So I think the competitive intensity is very strong. There's no doubt. I was quite exhilarated by the competitive intensity in this industry when I came in, and it's been quite exciting to see. Very frankly, competition is good for the consumer. We all know that. Competition is also good for all of us, all the players, because we all get better because somebody else does a good job and then you want to do better than them. So overall, it's a good thing. So I actually welcome that rather than run away from it. The key really is that we would like to win in this competitive space. And that's what we are focused on. And the biggest learning both from Whirlpool Global as well as all our experience, collective experience here, and I spent a lot of time talking to our chairman, to the previous managing directors of Whirlpool, etc., as well as external people who understand the industry. And I think it's pretty clear that the most important thing is to be clear on what your strategy is, what are your plans, and make sure that you execute them. Yes, we respect our competition a lot. We are always keeping tabs on what is happening in the marketplace. But whatever changes we bring in are more tactical. Strategy is really what we've chosen to do. And that's what we'll be focusing on. We'll be focusing on what we need to do to succeed long term. We've identified our strategic imperatives and we're going to go after those. And that is going to be the main focus of our efforts. And I think competition will always be there. Deflation will be there. Sometimes inflation will be there. We have to learn to win in spite of all this and not count on any of these things to help us. Right. Move on to product launches. So there's a few questions on product launches. These have come from Mr. Nikhil Upadhyay, Mr. Ankur Sharma, and a few others. And one of the questions was, can you talk about the number of launches where we've launched these products? I think I had already shared that in detail in my presentation on each of the categories that we've launched in. There's another question, which is a very interesting, provocative question for us, which is, while we've launched products, it seems we are playing catch up for the consumers to come back to Whirlpool. Do we need to focus on higher innovation rather than incremental innovation? So if I just take it's a great question. And it's always the question that consumes, most of us who are in business. If you take a look at the couple of big initiatives that I mentioned, one is the IntelliFresh Pro range. I talked about convertibility in 27 minutes being amongst the leading claims in the marketplace today, amongst the leading players. That is not easy to get. It's quite a challenge, and our scientists have been able to come up with that claim as well as the 2 times vitamin preservation. So I'd say if I look at that, we are not actually playing catch up. I think we're trying to get ahead of the game. And this is a continuous process to try to make products better for consumers. We will do it, our competition will do it. The only question is, how many times will you stay ahead of the competition and therefore bring more value, meaningful value to the consumers? If I take a look at horizontal axis, the front load washers, same story there. So we've got this amazing ozone refresh technology. And for those who are not super familiar with it, what is really cool about it, which I discovered, is that just imagine this practical scenario where you are going for a wedding, and I think we do that a lot in North India, and nowadays I can see a lot of people do it in South India as well, which is come up with a Sangeet during festivals or weddings, basically during weddings, or you go for a festival. You do a little bit of dancing for about half an hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour. You're sweating a bit. Your clothes are not smelling perfect. What do? You come back, you're wearing silk clothes, silk kurta pajama or your silk saris. You come back and you probably have to give it for, dry cleaning or something. Or you just air it and kind of hope for the best, that it doesn't smell too bad. The beautiful thing about ozone refresh is actually you can use it in our machines in our front load machines which have the ozone technology. You can actually use it to refresh your clothes without water or detergent. I mean, how cool is that? So, we've got these technologies which I don't think are just ordinary technologies. I think they're very cool. We are not complacent. We know that, competition will come with the next big technology. Our objective is to keep working, like I said, turbocharge consumer understanding and keep working on stuff that makes a material difference to consumers. And if we do that over time, consumers are going to reward us. So, great question. Thank you for that. A couple of other questions is, what have you done on refrigerators and washing machines? I think questions on what have you done to grow or accelerate, and also on the other categories. Well, I think just a couple of big examples that I spoke of in cooking. I think I talked to you a lot about some of the innovations that we've brought in. We've brought in lots of innovation. Those three are just the ones that I mentioned, but we've done that on Elica and we've done that on Whirlpool cooking. So there's quite a bit of innovation in cooking. And then in AC, of course, we've got the 3D Cool with the 3D air system that we introduced. And that is also doing well. And that is something that we look forward to really leveraging as we go along. Another question on product development. In order to focus on local demand, how is the R&D or product innovation team structured between parent and local innovation? Great question. The answer is we take the best of the global ideas. We check whether those global ideas make a lot of sense for India. It's not necessary that what makes sense in the United States or Latin America or Europe or whatever, or the rest of Asia has to work in India. So we do our consumer checks, and we will do that going forward as well. And then we have our local ideas. So we actually have teams that can pull together the best ideas that are in global and local, check it out with consumers. That's part of the whole discussion on turbocharging consumer understanding I was talking about. And then figure out what is best for our consumers in India. So we have the beauty of having access to the global knowledge as well. Right? Question on impact of launch of the local factory for fully automatic washers from Mr. Ankur. First thing is very good products. So we're getting very good feedback on the people who are using our products. So we're very happy about that. The second thing that this local manufacturing does for us is obviously flexibility in supply speed. So if we find that something is moving really fast somewhere, we're able to supply really, really quickly because everything is being made here on the front loaders now. And we are really looking to this Diwali season. As we all know, it is the season for washing machines. So we're really looking to do something good in the stores during the Diwali season to really bump up our front loaders. As we know, our front loaders we just launched last year, so our market shares are quite low compared to our top loaders and our semi-automatic, etc. So plenty of space for us to grow going forward. And the last question on product launches, what share of revenue has come from products we launched in the last 3 years? Well, high double digits. So it's high double digits that we've got from new products in the last 3 years. And that's on product launches. I'll now get on to one question on execution that's come from Mr. Nikhil Upadhyay. And the question is again, nice provocative one, which is when we go to certain stores, the product breadth is lighter and the sales people are not interested to push our products. Do you agree? And what are we going to do to improve our connect at the ground level? It's a great question. Mr. Upadhyay, I've actually been to hundreds and hundreds of stores in the last 5 months. I must say that for me, execution is a huge focus because the battle for market share is actually fought in the store. So that's why I said right at the beginning, excellence in execution is very important to win with every consumer every day in every store. Now, having actually gone to several hundred stores basically in the last 5 months, I would say that we are looking pretty good in the store. There are places where we don't look good, but there are many, many places in which we look quite good. Having said that, there's a lot of work we still need to do on execution. Execution for us, as we discussed, and with all the experienced people in the industry as well that I've discussed, including our chairman, who himself has been in this industry for a very long time, it starts from the top. I have in the last 5.5 months actually visited more than 100 trade partners, like I mentioned, customers that we work with. many of these people are actually, especially in the chain stores, the big local dealers, distributors, etc. They're all people who have been there 30, 40 years in the market. So they really know a lot about execution. So the advantage and the pleasure of actually going and meeting these people personally, and I can tell you that my sales director goes a lot more than I do, is in the market more often than not. And the simple thing is that we start right from the top, and I know that the whole organization feels that way, that winning really is in the store, right? It's not going to be won in the office or in the boardroom. There is a renewed focus on execution that I mentioned starting April of this year. We have identified all the key drivers of business on executional levels. So we've identified all of those levers, and then we are looking at, out of all those levers, what are the levers that we need to press by when? And so we have a very clear prioritized understanding of what those levers are. What does it take to press each one? When should we be pressing it? So we are fairly clear on all of that. And the key really is now to make sure that we press the right things at the right time and allow it do it at the pace that the P&L will allow. Because we, like I said before, we need to make sure that we keep an eye on the P&L as well. So I think execution is something that we really look forward to driving. It's a major strategic imperative for us, and we will give it the right amount of focus that we need to, not just now or in the next 12 to 18 months, but across the next decade. The next question is on marketing. There's a few questions on that from Mr. Nikhil Upadhyay and some others. Question is, are we lagging competitors on media spends and product launches, and what are we going to do about it? Are we, pushing marketing for our brands, and are we able to communicate the benefits to the customers? So I'll answer this question at multiple levels. Firstly, there are multiple ways to communicate our product benefits to consumers. So if you look at the multiple ways, one is the executives you have on the shop floor who are explaining to consumers, how our products work. So we have a strong training program. We equip them with all of the information required to be shared with consumers to get them excited about our products. We have in-store point of sale. We have on-product stickers. So all of that is very much there. We do significant amount of spending now on e-commerce marketing, which has started recently, because we can see that there is a good ROI possibility there. We are looking at digital marketing wherever appropriate, and we're investing into that. And the last piece is really above the line advertising, which I think is the part of the reference. And for me, we are focusing on what we prioritize as the set of drivers, and we do it with respect to ROI. Whatever is kind of proven ROI, we are investing in it significantly. And whatever is not a proven ROI, we are figuring out what the ROI is, and then we will invest into it. So given where we are, the way to kind of move forward is to invest in the right things at the right time, and make sure that we do that with a P&L that helps us, basically, and that we are continuously and virtuously building on the P&L. So it is something that you will see going forward across the next years that we will continue to do, but we will do it in a measured way, and we will do it in order of priority of what we have defined as the key things to push. I'd now probably like to hand over again to Mr. Aditya Jain to talk about some of the questions on manufacturing.
Thank you, Mr. Ishwar. I'll take on the next question on the manufacturing for Mr. Nikhil Upadhyay. There were two questions, and I'll answer them one by one. The first question was, if you look at competitors, they're focusing on more manufacturing assets to be quick in launching products and have better product innovation strategy. So do you think we need more manufacturing base, or more manufacturing of premium products will ship to India versus the still imported one? So I just want to inform that right now all the finished goods or all the products which we sell in India are all either domestically manufactured or domestically sourced. So our dependency on imports is negligible, is almost zero. And moreover, we've invested in the front load factory in Puducherry. This is a big investment which we have done, and we've invested about 145 crores. And this was the product which we were earlier importing, and now this is now manufactured locally by us. In fact, ACs which were earlier imported, we've again moved the sourcing of ACs to India. So effectively, almost all of our products are now domestically manufactured or sourced. So given the way our current manufacturing capabilities are, both in terms of quantity and scale, we think that we have enough at this point of time which can cater to the demand in the Indian market. However, having said that, as a company, we on an ongoing basis evaluate investment decisions based on cost, benefit, and ROI analysis, and keep taking decisions at an appropriate time, as we've done in the past, which create long-term value for the shareholders. The second question was on AC. We had mentioned that our dependence on China was mainly in AC segment, but with PLI and so much investment companies making behind manufacturing AC in India, how is our dependence, and do we think we have need to add AC manufacturing to our manufacturing base to stay competitive? So as I've said, post the regulations from the government regarding the import of air conditioners, a huge amount of ecosystem for manufacturing ACs have got developed in India. A lot of OEM players have set up capacities and shops in India. In addition to that, a lot of players have also invested in the components manufacturing for air conditioner, and which is where the entire PLI benefit comes in. Given that these capacities and the scales have got created in India, right now we are leveraging those OEM capacities for our AC business, and we've moved all our AC imports from China to a domestically sourced business. But having said that, as I said, we are continuously evaluating investment decisions, and based on right cost and ROI benchmarks, and then appropriate time we might decide what is right in the what is right to create the best value for the shareholders. I'll now answer some of the other questions which came in. There was a question around what is the revenue for our parent company. It's this information is available on the company's website as well. The parent's revenue is about $19.7 billion for the year ended December 2022. There was a next question around what is the share of our business in various segments. So refrigerator is our biggest portfolio, and about more than half of our revenue comes from refrigerator business. From a washing machine standpoint, a quarter of our revenue broadly comes from a washing machine business. The share of revenue of AC business is about in single digits, and all other, which is your microwave, water purifiers, etc., is again in single digits, plus you have low single digits in terms of a service income. So that contributes, that is the composition of our segment revenue. Then there was a question on what is the percentage of our sales which comes from the new age retailers, so which in our business we call it modern trade business. Again, right now at this point of time, the share of contribution from the new age retailers and the modern trade accounts is in single digits for us. And there was a question around e-com sales as well. So right now the share of revenue from e-com sales is in double digits for us. So then there were some questions around the discount coupons, etc., being given to the shareholders. We've taken a note of your request, and we will look into this. Then there was a question around exchange offers for the old products, if the shareholders can exchange them for the new products, or if we can have an extended warranty offers for them. So again, we've taken a note of your request, and we will look into this piece. With this, probably I'll pass it on to Rupali for the next for the proceedings of the meetings.
Sure. Thanks, Aditya. Just a couple of questions that were more on gender diversity, women empowerment, whistleblower systems, and the harassment cases. I'd just like to, with permission of chair, also answer those. So those questions were from Mr. Saraf and Mr. Chopra. So the question was in terms of what is the diversity ratio for us. So our BRSR report captures this data. We are presently around 31% diversity numbers for our permanent employees. On women empowerment, again, it is one of our key priorities. We would love to accelerate the development of our women leaders, and therefore we have a dedicated program which we call as the Empower program. This is for development of female leaders. You can find more details about this program on page number 27 of the annual report. There was also a question about the whistleblower system. So we do have, our code of ethics, integrity manual, as we refer it to. It captures all the policies, processes that we have, basically reiterating our commitment to conduct business ethically wherever we are. So again, details about this entire whistleblower system, which is a part of the integrity manual, can be found on page number 87 onwards of the annual report, and any specific questions, would happy to answer that via emails. I think there was also a question for Mr. Saraf and Mr. Bakshi on the renewable energy piece. As an organization, we are dedicated to sustainable growth. We not only believe in building sustainable products, but also focus on reducing our own environmental impact of our operations. And as part of that, we are promoting use of eco-friendly fuels, solar power, adapting energy efficient processes and retrofits, to name a few of the initiatives which the company is taking. With that, I think all the questions would have been answered. Now I would like to basically tell the members, we have concluded the Q&A sessions. Members may please note that the e-voting facility on the NSDL platform will continue to be available for the next 30 minutes. Members who have so far not cast their votes are encouraged to do so within the next 30 minutes. The voting results, along with the scrutinizer's report, will be published within the next 48 hours from the conclusion of this meeting. The results will also be available on company's website, NSDL e-voting platform, as well as the websites of the stock exchanges. I now, on behalf of the shareholders, would like to thank our chairman, directors and auditors for this hosting this annual general meeting. I now hand over the proceeding back to the chairman.
Thank you, Rupali. I think it's been an exhaustive session. I would like to thank the management, my fellow board members, and the esteemed shareholders for joining us today. And with that, I declare the meeting is closed. Thank you.